another day to help stimulate the mental. Time to strategize, huddle up, where's your circle? I can feel the movement radiate through the convo. Talk is cheap, turn your faith into work. I drink my second cup and put my hands in the dirt. 2 cups, drinking straight drip from the earth. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first. One for the wake up. One for the wake up. Two for the work. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first. Welcome back to 2 Cups Cafe. I am your host, Alan C. Jackson, and joining me today for another high-quality caffeinated conversation is none other than my main man, Darrell Sheares. How you doing, my brother?
I'm well, and yourself, man?
Oh, man, a lot of people don't know, man. You behind the wheels of steel, so to speak, helping keeping this thing on the tracks. Man, you call yourself a Swiss Army knife, man. If you just give me our listeners and viewers, a little background about yourself.
Yeah, man. So, man, at the end of the day, I'm just a creative guy. And I started off as a designer, doing graphic design and stuff. And then I came to the realization that my gift wasn't graphic design, it was creativity. Yeah. And, my creativity wasn't dictated by the medium, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so, been able to evolve and pivot in a lot of ways. And now I'm just kind of really focused on helping my brother Thaddeus, who was on here and pushing his music career and essentially just the things we're doing in the community to help impact with that. So that's the main focus, and able to bring everything that I am, all my gifts and talents to that to help push it forward. And At the end of the day, just help people and our people lead better lives.
That's awesome, man. And I know a lot of people don't know. I mean, this is not your first stint working with music or musicians. You yourself are a musical guy. You play instruments. And you come from a family of very talented and gifted individuals. If you tell us a little bit about that. Yeah,
man. So, I mean, when I was young, my dad, he kind of made me play.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I got into it, fell in love with it. And I realized that my love for music was more so how music sounds versus actually playing, because I've been able to be friends with some great musicians over the years. And my brother Thaddeus, he's literally the best guitarist that I know, awesome. Right? And so I realized what it takes to be a musician at a high level. I'm like, I don't have that kind of commitment. But I got convicted because I used to tell people all the time, I was a musician in my former life, but it's like, okay, I can still sit down in front of keys and still play. And so just recently, my pops, my goddad, he told me that, God told him that, hey, you need to get back to playing. You ain't gotta go play at church or play on records, but God gave you the gift. You need to need to stay sharp on it. So
that's awesome.
That's what
I know. When I was thinking about having our conversation, I was wondering like you say, you played from a young age. It was kind of made to do it, but was it something that your parents saw with your graphics, or something that they saw with your music, or they just automatically just knew that it was something special about what you had in you and how they were able to bring that out?
I really don't know.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We've never had that conversation. But I know that when it came to those things, you know what I'm saying? They didn't stop me from doing it, right? Mm-hmm. I've kind of got more encouragement in those areas than it came to like sports. You know what I'm saying? Okay, it's hey, I want to play football, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna be down here at the church. I got Bible study. I ain't gonna be able to, you know what I'm saying? And so it was definitely encouragement in those areas. And so I never felt stifled in exploring my creative endeavor. So that was a benefit.
For me, I feel like my creativity came out later in life. I feel like it was suppressed. I live with my grandparents, and excuse me, my grandfather was super duper old school, right? Everything revolved around work, and I think that's kind of how I built my foundation of, one for the wake, one for the work, with work always being a key component in my life.
Yeah.
But I remember I was taken to the trumpet, man. I kind of like fell in love with this trumpet. We had, the people come to the school and they start giving you lessons, and I was taking lessons. I'd be in the basement for an hour just wah, wah, wah. And then
Yeah.
I came home from school one day and the trumpet was gone. And I said, "What happened to my trumpet?" And my grandfather just like, "That horn ain't gonna pay no bills." And that was the end of the conversation. So I always equated creativity to being something like aloof or abstract or a hobby, but not something that you could spend your life doing. But then when I got older, it kind of like I went through some things, and God had to pull some things out of me, and I was able to bounce back. So like I said, so what was that creative like thing in you that said, "This is what I want to do, like for the rest of my life"?
Al, I think it's because like I started my first freelance business when I was like 15, 16, something like that. Okay. So when I was in high school, I was the graphic designer, doing a lot of church stuff. Done some club stuff. I was in clubs before I was even old enough to be in it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so, it's just always been that thing. And now what like graphic design is so widely accessible, right? Like I feel like anybody can. The more I learned about graphic design, the more I realize anybody can do it.
Okay.
And because at the end of the day, it's just expression, it's communication. And so, but because I got started so young, I was like, okay, yeah, like this is a normal thing. Like you make money from being creative. But what I had to learn and what life has taught me, and then even becoming partners with Thad, because we became partners in Touchdown, and is the fact that, okay, the creativity is definitely important, but the business is more important. Right. And so because I was able to make money easily, just designing, I didn't develop great business acumen.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It was just the fact of, okay, hey, I got paid for my talent.
Right.
And I remember one day, we were in the car, me and T, and because I used to always be the guy. I'll be, running around with my MacBook.
Yeah.
I'm always doing something,
knocking something out.
Yeah. And I remember one day we was in the car. I think we was coming back from Detroit, and he was like, he closed my laptop. He said, "Bro," he said, "Who are you outside of that thing? Who are you with no Photoshop, no Illustrator, no InDesign? Who are you outside of that?" And I could not answer that. And this was probably 11, 12 years ago.
Okay.
And I've been on a journey figuring out how to answer that ever since. Because so much of my identity up until even here recently has been in what I do.
Right. Producing something.
You know what I mean? And in turn, it has caused me to not foster relationships the way that I should. And I heard a quote maybe about a month or so ago, and they said that success is 20% skill, 80% relationships.
Okay, I feel that.
You know what I'm saying? Because, I made a post a little while ago. It's like, visibility beats ability. Because if you're the best at what you do and nobody knows it, are you actually really the best?
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? And so I've spent far more time honing and developing skills and mastering some and just knowing how to do others. But in the same token, having built, a lot of meaningful relationships. That's why I'm grateful for you, bro. Like, aside from you, I've been there every step of the way since you started this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Behind the scenes. Anytime you in here with a guest, I'm in here. You know what I mean? And watching you execute on this thing week in, week out. We don't pay attention to the numbers. It's a thing of, hey, you're doing this because of a creative expression.
Right.
And in it, you're having conversations with people. You've shown me, the relationships that you have. Hey, these people out here, they may not know them. I'm using my platform to introduce them. And that aspect of it has been an inspiration to me, right? And so
Appreciate that.
as I sit here and look at that screen, this is I seeing myself right here in front of this camera. But
For sure.
you know, at first when you text me and asked me about being on here, what I tell you, I said,
Yeah,
I gotta pray about that
it,
one. But and when I did, it came, confirmation came in conversation, just like, hey, you gotta start using your voice, man. And so for me, I forget how I even got on that. It's just one of those things where, you know, I have those creative skills, but now it's about communication at this point and using all the things that I've learned to help people.
Definitely. So let me ask you this: like, do you think the difficulty maybe in fostering relationships because at such a young age, maybe so many things you were doing were transactional?
Yeah, I think more so because I remember my mom's telling me years ago, she was like you don't never meet no strangers. Like and like when I was a kid, like everybody was my friend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was a very much so social butterfly. But then, you know, I kind of went through some family dynamics that, you know, my dad being a pastor and stuff.
Right.
And when I was young 20s, I decided to leave my dad's church.
Okay.
And our family went through, you know,
Some ups and downs.
ups and downs with that, you know what I'm saying? And I struggled in that navigation. I knew it was something that I needed to do.
Right.
Just because of the way I kind of got ignited in my relationship with God. And I'm like, hey, above all else, like what I have learned is the fact that whatever keeps me the most tethered, and I didn't know what this journey, how tethered it was going to get me to God. But, you know, it's one of those deals where, I don't know. I mean, it's just when it comes to the relationship building, I think when I went through that, people that I thought were my friends,
Okay.
they didn't show up.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so I leaned into those that did. And it caused me to be like, forget everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because when I needed people the most, the people that I was expecting to be there weren't there. And the people that I kind of least expected to be, they became my family, took me in and, you know, treated me as their own unconditionally.
Right.
I was a mess after that. You know what I'm saying? I
feel
mean, I went through all kind of crazy stuff. Because my identity, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I had to refine that.
You
You know
was
what I
on a
mean?
search kind of for who you were, you know.
Exactly.
You knew what you could do. You knew you were talented. You knew
Yep.
you was gifted. You knew you had, I know a lot of times, like, I kind of went through similar to that. Maybe not, you know, if we sit down and talk about it off camera, but I remember things when I was small came easy.
Yeah.
So I found myself like later on, like in high school and different things like that, I found myself dumbing down like purposely because I didn't want like to make others feel like I was trying to outshine them. And I think part of that came because when I was small, you know, I was like, I'm talking about kindergarten, man, every question teacher had, I was always the one with my hand up, like my hand stayed up the entire time. And finally she told me, she's like, put your hand down. I already know you know the answer. So it was like, it was like a shocker, man. I cried, went home. My mom actually pulled me out of the school, but from that point on, every time I felt energized, like I was about to just, you know, take on the world, I could hear in the back of my mind, like, put your hand down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Sheesh.
that's something that I took with me. I didn't really identify it, man, until I was like 45.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It was like,
yeah.
But I could constantly hear like, stop trying to be a show off. Put your hand down. Like, be humble. Be this. Be that. And it's like, you know, and if you put your own framework around it, your own biases, like, you could just confirm it to yourself. Like, no, I'm just supposed to be, you know, pushing somebody else. I'm supposed to be, you know, helping. I'm supposed to be in the background. But then my frustration, I don't know if you ever went through this, was when you know it's something inside of you that you're supposed to be doing, nobody else can manufacture that the way you see it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, and you know, the thing for me, mine was kind of the opposite, right? Like, I stopped seeing value to the level, you know, of the things that I could do.
Okay.
just because at the end of the day, when I looked at my life, I was like, well, I'm not living the life that I desire to be from. I'm not making the money that,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I talked to my grandmother not too long ago, and she was like, she used to tell everybody when I was younger, like, oh, my grandson gonna be a millionaire.
Okay.
Like no question. And she tells me that to this day, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like she runs a kitchen for the poor or whatnot. She's like, hey, I'm just waiting on you. You know what I mean? But for me, because, you know, I've gone through my traumatic experiences, it's caused me to, and I'm at a different place now, but it's caused me to devalue the skill sets in which I have, because I felt like it wasn't enough. And I think that led me on a journey to, okay, trying these different things. And now I get to this point now where I see, oh, all these things work together. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's Bible at the end of the day. And so now at a place of primarily, number one, being an audio engineer, I absolutely love it. I mean, it's, when I walk in my house, I flip that switch, my whole studio setup come on. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where it's at. But then with this aspect of what we're doing with Thad's music, it's one of the biggest joys of my life being a part of that, because we're building something that's really impacting people's lives.
Right.
Right. We put out his first album back in 2020, and you know, it was like, hey, we're gonna figure out how to do this thing, right? But then after that, it's like, okay, yo, we in it now.
Okay.
And so Thad's question was like, okay, how do I get my music and my brand as an artist in front of the most diverse group of people?
Okay.
And I'm gonna get back to
No.
where we were, but we were like, okay, so sporting events. I mean, you got people from all walks of life. Everybody comes together, you know, to be in these moments. And okay, so what contribution came first? We thought about halftime shows, but then it was like, well, if people don't already know the music, halftime show, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So then it was the national anthems. Yeah, that's it. Because that would always like be playing the national anthem, you know what I'm saying, in the studio. Like it would be like a warm-up thing or just something he would just do. And so we was like, okay, what's the biggest thing we can do right here at home in Toledo? Oh, let's do the Mud Hands. Bet. And so like we came up with a whole strategy. We recorded him doing it in the studio, sent it to the people at the Mud Hands. Like, yes, let's get him to do it.
All right.
But the whole goal of it was, okay, let's not just do it, because like our mindset isn't just Toledo. We're gonna impact Toledo, but we're trying to think, okay, how do we get national? Then how do we get global?
Exactly.
So we're gonna do this national anthem for the Mud Hands, but we're gonna capture this thing,
Right.
so that way we've got something physical we can send to wherever else we want to go. So done that. It was stellar, a lot of views and stuff on YouTube and stuff. But now we want to do NBA. Dad loves basketball.
Okay.
He's falling in love with football a lot more. But we said, okay, let's get to the NBA.
Yeah.
So we just went to work trying to figure out, okay, how do we? Because you know, none of these NBA teams, they front office like information ain't out there. How do we find? How do we get these people's emails? So we would just figure it out, and before we know it, people got to responding. Okay, yeah, is he available for this day? Available for this day. So the first one we done was with the Miami Heat.
Okay.
And that was experience of a lifetime.
That was a great time.
Oh man, amazing, bro. But the funny thing about it is we do it, and that gets done. We stay for a little bit of the first quarter. We leave.
Okay.
We don't even stay for the whole game. We go back to the hotel. He makes some tacos. We watch the game on the TV, because it's like, bro, we done that. And like, you know how it is, like when your adrenaline get to going. But then we get several other teams to reach out. Like, we haven't done every team that reached out to us to do it. Right. And I say us just because, you know, we team, but when it comes out, when them lights come on, that man get out there with that guitar and he do what he do. But the fun thing was we went to Phoenix. Okay. And that year, that was the finals rematch, the Bucks and the Suns. But that same night, the Brooklyn Nets wanted him to come too. So we had to weigh the pros and the cons of it, right? And so we end up doing Phoenix because that was the biggest game. It was going to be on TNT, all those kind of things. And, you know, there's other stuff that happens in between these things, but doing that and seeing that man perform in front of a sold out 18,000 people crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're still at the ground level of this thing. You know how many people wait to play in front of?
Right.
I mean, that's where we're starting.
Definitely.
You know,
That's awesome.
And so for me, you know, when I get to finding value in what I do, it's the fact that, okay, me and my brother, we get together, we put our minds and our gifts together, and we can do that.
Right.
Okay. Oh, there's a lot of value in what I can do and what I can bring to the table.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I mean, he's a generational talent, but and so he could get anybody to help him, you know what I'm saying, push this thing forward or whatnot. But he sees something in me, like, hey, bro, I know you ain't never done this, but I know you can
do it.
I know you can do it.
Yeah.
And so that has helped me. And that's why I'm so focused on relationships now and making sure, number one, your inner circle is ones who lift you up and build you up. Because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for the people I have around me who's closest to me, I would still be somewhere just sitting in front of a computer making graphics.
No, I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? And so now the evolution of what our unit has become and what the plan is for where we're headed is literally amazing. I know this will probably air next week, but at the time of recording this last night, we had our second Mindful Meetup, which is a partnership with the Toledo Metro Parks.
Yeah. That's a beautiful space down there too.
Yeah, well, now we've moved it to the Glass City Enrichment Center, which is another one of the newest buildings. There hasn't been much happening down there, but this is the Enrichment Center, right? And what we're doing with this meditation music, it's literally amazing. Yesterday, it was so much fog and stuff out. We thought about, you know, they called and wanted to see if we wanted to cancel it. And they asked me what I thought. I'm like, well, hey, we said if only 2 people show up,
Right.
we're gonna be there. And at the end of the day, what this is, somebody may come because they know we all need it, but hey, I need this tonight. I need to be around some people. I need to get my mind right, whatever. And for the first probably 20 to 30, we were still setting chairs out, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when I looked at that, I said, bro, I don't know the majority of the people in this room. And I was like, yeah, me either.
That's powerful.
But and so when people,
So you knew it was a need because people heard and they came.
people heard in the first one, it was amazing. It was at Market Hall, you know, that performed, and you know, nice. We got community partners and stuff available with. But last night was very special because for those people to be coming, to be showing up, and we looking around, we don't know the majority of those people there. It's like, oh, we got a movement going on.
Right.
And it's helping and enriching people to be more mindful, man, because our world needs it. I mean, the reason why, and I don't even watch the news anymore, but I hear about certain stuff, man, and it's like people's minds not right, man. And so,
I mean, people, I mean, that's 100%. I mean, I listen, you know, to that, you know, his mindful music and some other ones, but I remember when I didn't know that was a thing, you know, and then I got into like the lo-fi and the, you know, trying to chill for a minute. But your thoughts, man, we get bombarded with so many images and sounds and so quick clicks and 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 10 seconds. And it's like you really do need to take time and detach from all of that and have something that can help you focus on just kind of centering yourself.
1,000%, bro. I mean, and for me, like, I think I'm the prototype number one. I heard Denzel Washington say, like, what's the long-lasting effects of too much information? And I have consumed so much, Al.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes my mind just gets bombarded with all this information I have in my head, and it causes me, like, to stall. I can get lethargic in my movements, you know what I'm saying? And when I throw that music on, just take a minute, breathe, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, I was the same way. I ain't never, even when Dad first started meditating, I hear you, bro. Like, but I don't, you know what I'm saying? And so he's helped me with that. And it's like, bro, just throw the music on. Just breathe, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, well, I can't stop my mind from going.
Right.
No, that's not what if your brain stops, you dead. You know what I'm saying? But you allow the thoughts to pass through. And, you know, once thoughts get to coming, you go back to, okay, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, at the end of the day, man, it's all about finding what works for you.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And I think that music is one of the greatest entryways into it, because at the end of the day, all you got to do is throw it on, just sit there and breathe.
Definitely.
It's not guided. You know what I'm saying? Somebody talking to you the whole time. 'Cause sometimes you get distracted by somebody talking to you the entire time.
I feel you.
But you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing, bro.
Yeah, so we'll transition a little bit, but let me ask you this. Like, as being someone that is familiar with audio and how things are supposed to sound.
Yeah.
And video and how things are supposed to look. And graphics, you know, what's pleasing to the eye, and then you go into music and instrumentation. Like, when you just go to walk down the street, do like all these things like bother you? Like if somebody doesn't do it well, or if you hear something like in the song and you know it's just not right?
Man, listen, like I'm a member of, and I probably shouldn't say this, but it is what it is. Like I'm a member of the Potter's House in Dallas. And I stream online every week, and sometimes it becomes like we had Bible study the other night. It becomes hard for me to engage with what's going on when there's like feedback going on. Like it gets very hard for me to, like when things are, because my mind goes to, okay, what's the solution? What's the problem? Oh, ring out the monitors. You know what I'm saying? Ring out the monitors or turn the lapel mic down in it. So, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, that has become a passion of mine, because I spent time learning these skills. But and so now the way my brain just works is figuring out how somebody done something as well. And so, like, when I go to movies and understanding storytelling, can kind of tell, okay, this is how this is going to end. You figure out who the main. I'm not gonna mess up movies for everybody, but you know what I mean. It's just the way my brain works, and it's been that way since the beginning. How I got into graphic design, I seen a flyer on the ground. You know, everybody used to put flyers in the windows. I'm like, what the heck is this?
Right. And
I seen it was for a church or whatnot. I was like, well, my dad's church needs some of this. You know what I'm saying? So I figured out how to crack Photoshop, and shout out to Pirate Bay.
Yeah, I remember all of the cracks.
But you know what I mean? I spent time, you know, figuring out how to do those things. And so whenever I see anything, I want to figure out, okay, how do they do that? Or at least find my way of getting to that same result. And so like that's how it's been with videos and all of that. So like all the content and stuff we do for Thazworld, like all the music videos and all of that, hey, we figured out how to get it done. You know what I'm saying? And so that's just kind of where my brain works. And so sometimes it's hard for me just to enjoy stuff because I'm figuring, okay, how is that?
So now, like, so if you out with like a young lady or something like that, like, are you the guy that you can't enjoy, like you just feeling grumpy if you go to you take her to a movie and it's just
no. So I'm a person, I've evolved to this place where I'm really able to look at a lot of things objectively.
Okay.
Right, and not get emotional about it, except for feedback at church. I hate it. But I'm able to look at things objectively, and you know, fortunate enough for me, I've kind of identified like the kind of woman that you know I even entertain, and so there's a level of intellect and intellectual conversation that happens.
To have some substance.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, if you get bothered by me nerding out about something, you ain't the one.
Right. Like, yeah, this probably not gonna.
This ain't gonna work because I nerd out on everything.
Right.
But yeah,
you don't want to hear what you think about it. I don't know. You don't want to hear nothing.
Yeah. Nah, I want to know. Okay, what do you feel when you see that? You know what I'm saying?
I feel it.
But I've fallen in love with cinematography, not even from the standpoint of just producing. I think because we have produced some things, I have a greater appreciation for it. So I love going to see movies and stuff like that because it's taking storytelling, which I think is one of the greatest things in the world. I think like Nike isn't you got a very nice Nike sweatsuit on today, but it isn't an apparel and shoe company. It's a storytelling company. Those Jordans you got on your feet,
right? They
told the story of Michael Jordan that made us want to buy Jordans.
Yeah, for sure.
You know 100%. What I'm saying? And so the world moves based on story. And so I think film is one of those ways that, you know, you're able to tell a story, but it's visually compelling. Like,
Yes, definitely.
like no other. Like, I thoroughly, if nobody's seen The Color Purple, you gotta go see The Color Purple.
Yeah.
Color Purple was just amazing. Like, great music, beautifully shot, and a very much so compelling story.
I saw it too. I was telling my wife, I said, "This some good video."
Yeah,
You know?
bro. Yeah, man. And so I do appreciate those kind of things.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, like, so, you know, we both came up. You started a lot younger than I did, but when part of the production was in the grind of hours and just manual tweaks of everything, but now with the AI, I see a lot of people get a little bit fearful because, you know, anybody could just kind of like throw their stuff in CapCut or everything's just so templated, you know. But as a creative, like, does that make your process faster and you appreciate it, or is it irritating? Like, you feel like they're taking away from the craft?
Nah, I love AI with a passion, because at the end of the day, AI isn't meant to replace humans. It's meant to help. And if you resist it, you're gonna be stuck behind. You're gonna be the blockbusters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're forever evolving. Technology is forever evolving, and the sooner we're able to embrace it, I believe the faster we'll be able to move. Right. So, I mean, and it's why I don't identify as a graphic designer.
Right.
I don't identify as a videographer. Right. I identify as an audio engineer for sure, because while there are AI tools for that, when it comes to music and stuff, you can't
replace
there's nothing
that ear.
you can't replace the ear, but you can't replace the soul and things. You can't replace feeling, right? You know, when I mix now, and I got these SSL control surfaces, which allows me to do what, you know, the OG engineers like the Bruce Swedins who work with Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson, like, you mix with your ears. That's what he said. That's why it's called an engineer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not just looking at the screen, looking at Pro Tools. You know what I'm saying?
Watching the peaks and
like I don't know the majority of the numbers that I land on when it comes to EQ. Close my eyes and I feel the EQ. Okay, what does that sound like? You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, AI can't do that. AI, it's all numbers, right? So it's gonna see the peaks and the frequencies. Okay, yeah, here you go.
Right there, like, I want to know that you want to.
Yeah,
I wanted to yell right there.
Yeah, and it works a lot. You know, it works for, you know, this bubblegum music that's being made. But when you making music that comes from the soul, that's supposed to reach the soul,
right?
A computer can't replace that.
No, I feel that.
You know, and so, but at the end of the day, this is why, like that question bro asked me about 12 years ago, who are you outside of that? Right. Was a very important question, and it was really kind of foreshadowing to now, because I have identity outside of all those things. At the end of the day, all the things that I've learned, all the knowledge that I've been able to gain over the years, it's my job now to start to impart this into other people, start training up children, introducing them, because the majority of the stuff besides reading, writing, and basic math, I ain't learned none of this stuff in school. Matter of fact, when I went to Penn Career Center, my senior year,
I wasn't expecting that one.
For real, man. My senior year, I was teaching my fellow students about design because I knew more than the instructor.
Right.
Shout out to Miss Uzak, but you know what I'm saying. And then the second half of the day, I was going to work.
That's awesome, man.
You know what I'm saying. And so at the end of the day, it's been a God-given gift in this creativity. He gave it to all of us.
Right.
I mean, you think about in the Bible, what's the first thing God wanted us to know about God? It's the fact that he was created. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. Then the next thing concerning us, he made us in his image.
Yep.
Heard a guy say, God, he made us to make things and created us to create things.
I like that.
And so we all have that. We all have that gene. It's just a matter of whether or not it's fostered, because we're all made in his image. So we're all creative people. So
I think a lot of times people get caught up on, although we need income, you know, we need to pay our bills. I think that's the thing we lead with. Like, is this what I'm going to do? Make money, not with how does this make me feel when I do it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know, like, a lot of the younger generation, like I said, I'm kind of like stuck in the middle because, I love creativity, but then I know that, there's things that have to be done to pay the bills. So when I work with young teenage boys now, they have a hard time understanding doing something that they don't want to do as far as that first job or, you 16, 17 years old, you're not going to land your dream job. Some people do, but the majority of us have to start somewhere. And it's just been so hard for me to get them to understand that you have to do this so you could feed that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if you ever run into that in any of your teaching.
So I don't know. I do know why, but we need to dispel the myth now. When it comes to creativity, it's not just about art, right? So in your line of work in the group, number one, you starting your group home came from a place of creativity. You seen a problem. I'm going to create this group home, right? And you're faced with with problems every day that you have to create solutions for.
Right.
That's being creative.
Like that.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not, creativity is not just about art. Creativity, more times than not, when it comes to solutions, it's a matter of creating a solution to a problem, right? And so at the end of the day, Miles Monroe, God rest his soul, that man preached sermons 20, 30 years ago that resonate and are just words to live by. He talked about how there was a problem that you were created to solve, right? Yeah. And so at the end of the day, we all have something that we could use that could be something, you could form some kind of business. If you got an oven, you can bake a cake or learn how to, right? If you know how to bake, okay, you're solving a problem of hunger or, even satisfying a sweet tooth for somebody, right? And that's creative.
I like that. I like that because I know when within the, like say like group home space or working with teens, like I've done some things like within the home that, some people might say were a little bit innovative, but it was like solving a problem that I saw as far as how adults interacted with children that is home, but they may not feel like it's their home.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of bridge that between, okay, this is our home. So how does our home feel? It's not just about, when I was little, we had the rooms that in people's houses couldn't nobody go in, the plastic on the furniture. And it was like, you felt like, like a guest or like you was in a shrine almost in certain spaces. So I'm like, no, I'm going to make this space. So when you come in here, you feel like, okay, I'm comfortable. He want me here, so.
No doubt. Like and again, you're creating a space.
Yeah. I like that.
That's what creativity essentially is, bringing something into the world that wasn't there before. Yeah. So even with this podcast, I heard you tell somebody like, I do this because it's a creative outlet for me. What are you actually creating? You're creating conversations that wouldn't be here otherwise. Because this is the first time I've been on anybody's podcast, and this wouldn't happen if you ain't send that text. So,
no, I appreciate you being here too, man, and it's the way that your approach to creativity. I think that it's not only creative, but it's also practical.
Yeah,
I always like to give people a sense of whatever I do. If you want to do it, you can do it too. Like, somebody might ask me, well, how did you do this? I'm like, I'm very transparent in my processes. I'll tell you if I'm doing something because it's a business and I want to make money. I'll tell you if I'm doing something it's just because I like to do. Like I've always had I can sit and listen to other podcasts. Like I can listen to things without seeing them, but I still see them.
Yeah.
Like I can have a conversation with you right now and I can listen to the conversation, and when you talk, I can kind of see how your face is, but I'm not watching you.
Yeah.
So I've always had that kind of, I don't want to say knack, but just that feeling.
So do you see my blue blockers when you?
I will.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
I will. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to be able to have conversations and bring forth information. And my big thing, and is becoming one of my big things. Like you don't have to be famous to have information. You don't have to be, kind of like I came up, when I came to church and stuff, it was like the preacher or whoever's out front is not going to be the one that the majority of the people are going to be influenced by.
No doubt.
You know, it's going to be that person that they can relate to. I'm like, okay, I know him. Me and him went to school together, so he doing it. I know he's a regular guy, so I can do it too.
Yeah,
But then just giving out the steps of, you know, the dedication, the consistency, you know, for me that's been key because I always have a great idea.
Yeah.
But once, you know, I used to, you know, have T-shirt ideas, and I produce one, and I'm done with it. You know, you know what I mean. So,
I got you.
But now it's like that consistency of being able to do something over and over again, and being able to do it better, and finding bringing out more. Like some things I learned about you today, I wouldn't have had not known if we didn't have this conversation.
No doubt.
You know,
No doubt.
and it just makes me excited. Like how much more. You know, the Bible says there's treasure in earthen vessels. So how much more conversations that we could talk to just people about just to pull out those treasures.
Yes, sir.
And stir up those gifts, man. So
yes, sir. No, absolutely, man. And I completely agree. I mean, conversations are so important, man. And the more we can just have it with individuals, and you know, there's only one race, right? And that's the human race, but we have different cultures.
Definitely.
And you know, at the end of the day, just even within our culture, you know, we've had aside from the women in your family, it's been all men that come in here, and we need to have more conversations than one just amongst black men, right? And having meaningful conversations, getting deep with one another, and you know, because there's always something to learn. There's one or two things you can learn from anybody, what to do and what not to do. But there's always something you can take away from any conversation. And that's one of the things that I'm big on moving forward in my life is having more conversations.
You know, the conversations I like to have, like, it's like this, like, so the conversations I like to have is like, there's no ask at the end of it.
No doubt.
There's no bargaining. There's
No doubt.
So now what, you know?
Yeah.
If there's a call to action, then the call is just to know more about, you know, the conversation, not at the end of this conversation, sign right here.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of this conversation, you know, buy this. At the end of the conversation, I'm going to do that. But no, just having a conversation where you can let your guard down, because I know there's not going to be like a transaction.
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, because in the misconception is the fact that, you know, nobody likes to be like sold to. Well, that's what they say, right? But if that was the case, especially within our community, we are the biggest consumers in the world.
We like some marketing.
All right. No doubt about it. But more times than not, we're trying to convince somebody of something when it comes to like selling them, when it ought to be, for lack of better words, persuasion, right? It should be a thing of you already know that you need this. This is the reason why you should get this thing here, right?
Right.
But that's a completely separate thing from just genuinely connecting with somebody, right? And because it's a difference between business and personal, right? Like, and from personal connection, but oftentimes they get intertwined.
Yeah.
But in business, some of the most transparent relationships you will have will be the ones where people are just calling to be transactional.
Yeah.
And you have to respect those relationships.
Yeah, I feel
everybody you encounter isn't meant for you to have them over for dinner, have them over, you know what I'm saying? Because people are moving, right? People they're on a mission, you know what I mean? Whatever it may be. Especially people who operate in business, or there's something transactional there. But you have to be able to identify who are those people that, okay, you just my people.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? We
right.
connect, we do life together or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think the beauty of what we've been able to create, you know, between relationship with you, me, you know what I'm saying, even with that, it's a thing of, we do business together, right? Like, we produce this podcast together, but you know, we were able to connect. I mean, you've helped me out in tough times, just whether it be conversation, looking out, whatever the case may be, because you like a big bro figure, you know what I'm saying? And the fortunate thing about it is we're also able to output some great things as well. So
sure, no doubt, man, no doubt. So as you know, because you've been hearing this for a long time, you know, they call me two cups, you know, one for the wake, one for the work.
Yeah.
The wake is what inspiring you at the moment, what is waking you up in the morning. We all have things that keep us up at night. Us maybe not so much anymore, because we become more mature on how to deal with those. But, you know, people in the world have so much keeping them up at night. But what is that thing that is waking you up in the morning every day, and what is the next step for the work?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, the thing is, man, With this coffee right here, man, it's you kind of got an element like Nori in there with Drink Champs, man.
Get you going.
The more this coffee is going, I'm ready to talk. You know what I'm saying? But no, man, the thing that gets me up every morning now at this point, I'm on a journey to becoming the best manager I can possibly be for Thaddeus and his music.
Okay.
I believe wholeheartedly in the mission and vision behind that, and the fact that it's about people at the center. He's not one of those "hey, look at me" type of guys. You know what I'm saying? The majority of the things that we, like when we shot the first music video, he was barely even moving his mouth and stuff. He was like, I don't know what we doing. We were in New York. We were in the middle of not Times Square, the garden out there. I don't know. I'm losing. But nonetheless, he just wasn't really into it. But I believe wholeheartedly in what's inside that brother.
Right.
He believes wholeheartedly in me. And so that's the thing that I'm waking up doing every day. Is, okay, how can we push this thing forward? Because at the end of the day, it's purpose work. And so that's the thing that's
powerful.
That I get up every morning.
Powerful. That's powerful. So if you had some advice to give to some young creator before we get out of here, what would you tell them?
Be consistent. Find a way to use your creative gift every single day.
I like that.
Every day. Don't just exist. You know what I mean? Be intentional about creating something every day. And if there's a specific skill you're trying to learn about it. Because there's 3 steps to learning anything. Learn about it, then learn how to do it, and then learn by actually doing the thing. And you learn by doing it until the point of mastery, to where you can do it like it's tying your shoe. You don't have to think about how to tie your shoe.
Right.
Tying your shoe doesn't require any effort, unless, once you get older, you kind of got to hold your breath till you get done. But you know what I mean? You want to reach that level of mastery to where, I can do this without thinking about it. So
say those steps one more time.
Learn about a thing.
Learn about it.
Then learn how to do it.
Learn how to do it.
Then learn by doing it.
Learn by doing it. All right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
I'm taking that with me.
My man.
All right. Well, once again, man, I just appreciate you coming from behind the board, man, and just sitting down, man, and just taking this time to share, your voice with our audience, man. And this has been 2 Cups Cafe, one for the wake, one for the work. I am your host, Alan C. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
I would just really appreciate you guys share it, like, subscribe, consume it, on YouTube or everywhere that podcasts are available audio. Until next time, 2 Cups.
2 Cups.